Let's dive right in. Let me take you back to January 2022, the Freedom Convoy. Just a rumble on the horizon, a spark of defiance against a suffocating blanket of COVID tyranny. And I was the first voice in the mainstream media, yes, the first, to sit down with Tamara Lich, Métis grandmother from Medicine Hat, who'd soon become the beating heart of that movement. She wasn't some polished politico or a slick-talking agitator. She was a logistics worker, a guitarist in a garage band called Blind Monday, a mom, a grandma, a regular Canadian who'd had enough. And when I spoke to her, you could hear it, the quiet resolve of a woman who'd seen her country hijacked by petty dictators in Ottawa. They're still there, by the way. And she wasn't going to sit quietly while they crushed the soul of a free people. Fast forward to today, April 3rd, 2025, and what do we see? Tamara Lich convicted of mischief by Justice Heather Perkins McVeigh after a 13-month show trial that would make Kafka blush. Mischief? That's a word you'd use for a kid TPing the neighbor's house. Not a woman leading a peaceful uprising against a government that had lost its damn mind. But that's where we are, folks. Canada's judicial system, once a proud bastion of British common law, now a hollowed-out shell, ideologically captured by radical progressive autocrats, most of them handpicked by that smirking globalist poster boy Justin Trudeau. This is not justice. This is vengeance, dressed up in a black robe. And it's time we called it what it is. A thunderous disgrace. I want to talk about Tamara Lich for a moment. This isn't some wild-eyed revolutionary. She's a woman who's spent her life in the gritty heart of Canada's energy sector, raising kids, strumming chords, standing up for the West when the Laurentian elite decided Alberta's oil was a sin against their green utopia. She was there with the Yellow Vests in 2018, fighting for the little guy against Trudeau's oil-killing bills, Bill C-69, the Tanker Moratorium Act, laws designed to choke the life out of Western Canada while Toronto sips its lattes. She backed the Maverick Party, pushing for a voice for the prairies in a country that's forgotten they exist. And when the Freedom Convoy rolled out, she didn't hesitate. Why? Because she saw what we all saw, a government obsessed with jabbing needles into every arm, locking people in their homes, and turning truckers, the backbone of this nation, into pariahs if they wouldn't bow to their vaccine gods. And what did she do? She organized, she spoke, she stood in Ottawa's frozen streets, surrounded by honking horns and waving flags, and she said, enough. She wasn't calling for violence, never did, not once. She begged for peace, for love, for Canada to remember what it was before Trudeau turned into a WEF Petri dish. Watch the tapes, folks. Slide 76 of the Crown's own PowerPoint. Tamara on TikTok grinning, saying the protest was Canada Day on steroids. Slide 100, moments before her arrest, telling her supporters on Facebook, we can only win this with love. Love. That's the dangerous insurrectionist they've locked up, dragged through the courts, and now branded a criminal. But let's not kid ourselves. This isn't about mischief. This is about power. As always, Trudeau's government couldn't stand that ragtag bunch of truckers and grandmas who humiliated them on the world stage. The Freedom Convoy wasn't just a protest. It was a mirror held up to a regime that would rather freeze bank accounts and sic riot police on its own people than admit it was wrong. And when they invoked the Emergencies Act, unconstitutionally, as a court later ruled, they turned a peaceful demonstration into a national crisis to justify their jackboots. Tamara Lich became their scapegoat, their Emmanuel Goldstein, because they needed a face to pin their failure on. And our courts? They're not courts anymore. They're the enforcement arm of a progressive Politburo. Look at this trial. 13 months, 45 days in court. For what? A charge that usually gets you a slap on the wrist. Mischief. Most of the other convoy folks charged with the same thing, cases dropped. Not guilty, or a fine you could pay with pocket change. The Coots 4 got 6 months for mischief, tacked onto other bigger sentences. And it didn't even matter. But Tamara, she's the prize. The Crown's closing arguments, 106 slides of nonsense, tried to paint her as some mastermind of chaos. Photos of her hugging Chris Barber, smiling with supporters, standing by a truck with a dog in the driver's seat. Zippy, for God's sake. If that's evidence of a crime, then every Canadian at a backyard barbecue is a felon. And who's behind this? Trudeau's cronies. The prosecutor, Moise Karamidji, has shoveled over $17,000 into Liberal coffers since 2013, cozying up to Justin at donor events. The first judge to deny Tamara's bail, Julie Bourgeois, a Liberal candidate in 2011. These aren't impartial arbiters. These are party loyalists, and they've turned the judiciary into a weapon. Tamara wrote her book, Hold the Line. I didn't stand a chance. She was right. This isn't a trial, it's a lynching with better stationery. Historically, this stinks of tyranny's playbook. Think of the Star Chamber under the Stuarts, secret courts, crushing dissent with the king's blessing, or the French Revolution's revolutionary tribunals, where justice was just a guillotine's warm-up act. Canada's supposed to be above that, built on Magna Carta's bones. But here we are, watching a grandmother get railroaded because she dared defy a prime minister who'd rather kneel to Davos than stand for his own people. John Locke is rolling in his grave. Government's meant to protect liberty, not smother it under a pile of trumped-up charges. And the evidence? Pathetic. The Crown's Siobhan Wetcher screeched about smell, noise, harassment, as if Ottawa's never had a loud weekend before. Maps, TikTok clips, press conference snippets, none of it shows Tamara breaking a law. None of it. She negotiated with the police. Sergeant Jordan Blonde testified she was polite, cooperative. She struck a deal with Mayor Watson to move trucks out, only for Trudeau to drop the Emergencies Act hammer the same day. If anyone's guilty of mischief, it's the government that turned a peaceful protest into a police state photo op. Yet they hounded her. 18 days in jail after her first arrest. Denied bail by Bourgeois, who claimed this 5'0" grandma threatened Ottawa's mental and financial health. Then rearrested in Alberta, shackled like a mob boss, all for accepting a Freedom Award next to another protester, with lawyers present, mind you. The Crown wanted her locked up for years pre-trial, as if she'd flee to some tropical hideout. Superior Court Justice Andrew Goodman saw through it. Highly unlikely she'd get a long sentence, he said. 49 nights in jail already. 49 more than a drunk driver might see. That's not justice, that's spite. Tamara Lich isn't a criminal. She's a patriot. She's the ghost of Canada past, reminding us of a time when we valued freedom over control, when dissent wasn't a death sentence. This conviction isn't a verdict. It's a warning shot from a regime that will crush anyone who steps out of line. Our judicial system's been gutted, stuffed with Trudeau's lackeys, and turned into a tool of ideological revenge. If Tamara's guilty, then so are we all. For daring to think, to speak, to honk a horn in defiance of a tin pot autocrat. Canada, wake up. This isn't mischief. This is a war on your soul. Hey, this is Richard Serrett. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe.